Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for tuning back into the Stoverload podcast. I am your host, Mike Stover, and today I got a really big special treat, and I'm really excited for a lot of reasons, but a big personal reason. The guest I have today is from a band that my brother and I, we kind of grew up on in a sense, from 2001 and so forth. And this band actually holds a lot of sentimental meaning for my brother and I because it was back in 2001 we found our father deceased in his bedroom. And it had damaged us mentally for many years. And during that time and the rawness of it, one of very few good things were happening. And the biggest one of all ties into my guest that I have today. I have with me Mr. Tim King from the rock band known as Soil. You may have heard of this band from their hits like Breaking Me Down, Halo. They were also on the Triple X soundtrack with Vin Diesel, the very first one. They also have another new hit out called Shine On. These guys are no stranger to tearing up the rock scene. And they're definitely no strangers to actually giving a crap about their fans and taking a little bit of time out for them. And I'm living proof of it. So guys, today I want you to welcome my guest, the bassist extraordinaire, Mr. Tim King.
Hey man, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, doing good. We live in crazy times now with, the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic, and a lot's changed. But it's not like anybody's alone in it. We're all in this, suffering through this together. So it's big changes on everybody. But just trying to adapt and stay busy and stay positive and keep things going.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, being a musician, and I know being a musician and playing gigs is an important thing to keeping the band going and growing. I was just wondering, how has COVID-19 affected that?
Yeah, everything's grinded to a complete halt. A lot of stuff with Soil, that we've done since we started is tour, and we haven't gone out on super lengthy tours in recent years, but we've gone out, and done Europe once a year and done lots of festivals here in the States and different things all over the country and stuff like that. And it's just all kind of grinded completely to a halt. And right now, with no end really in sight, they started to open up a couple of things, but now they're shutting it all back down because they've had resurgences and the virus and stuff like that. For us, it didn't affect us as much as some bands that are out there touring for 9-10 months out of the year. But it's definitely affected us. But as far as me personally, I still have my record label, Pavement Entertainment, that keeps me super busy, and other things like that. So it hasn't affected me hugely on a personal level, although I would like to get out there and play some more shows. And you miss playing live, and all of a sudden when you have it in front of you, it's like, oh yeah, you kind of take it for granted a little bit, and then when all of a sudden you're not able to do it, you definitely think about how special even those crappy shows were at some point.
As long as you're getting out there, I guess that's all that matters, right?
Very true, very true. We've been absolutely blessed to still be doing this. 23 years later, we started in 1997 of January, and we haven't really stopped at all. To be honest with you, never even taken a break. This is the first break we've had with the band in 23 years, and it was forced on us.
Now, a question I have, because you talk about taking breaks, is something I was wondering. I know there was a period where Ryan went on to do an album as the lead frontman to Drowning Pool. Were you guys on a break then, or just like trying something new?
No, if you look at the Soil history and everything, we got a replacement singer. We got it was actually Pat Lackman from Diesel Machine, and Wayne Static from Static X.
No kidding.
That called us after Ryan had left the band, and we're like, you guys need to keep going, and why don't you guys have this buddy of ours, AJ Cavalier, step in, and he'd be perfect for the band. We tried out a couple of people, but AJ seemed to fit really well, and he had a really good voice for the downtuning and stuff. And we brought AJ into the band, and we did this album called True Self. Went out on tour with it, and then we did this album, Picture Perfect. Went out and did the same thing, toured our butts off for it, and then we were we were lucky enough to patch things up back with Ryan, after that, and got him back in the band, and then we did that whole record. So, very very few times are you ever able to, bring a front man back into a band after they've left or whatnot. But we got really lucky with that. We, it all grown up a little bit more, matured a little bit more. Some of the things that seemed important at the time seemed rather petty and trivial, down the line. So,
right.
Ryan was out of the band for 7 years. We did 2 records without him, and he came back, and we've done a brand new record with him. We did a live record together. We put out a greatest hits, and it's been great. It's been fantastic. Put the band back on a real big high note.
It's really glad. It really warmed my heart, and I was really glad to see that. Because it's like a band like you guys, like I'm still kind of blown away that Sean isn't with you guys anymore, and the original drummer you guys had from when I first got to know you guys and see you guys play. So it's almost like watching Aerosmith without Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. You know what I mean? So it's just not the same without the originals.
Yeah, I mean, when you've been a band as long as we have, I mean, unless you're to superstardom where, money's no object, and even if you're not getting along with each other, a separate tour bus for each guy and millions of dollars in your bank account and, separation and stuff like that can kind of ease the pain a lot.
Right.
When you're a band that's, middle of the road like we are, where you have to share everything and you're on top of each other all the time, and things just aren't getting along, so to speak, it's harder to mend the fence or look the other way on a lot of things. And no disrespect to those guys whatsoever. We all formed Soil together, the original 5, and we had a lot of good years together. But Sean's been out of the band now for 12 years, and Tom's been out of the band now for 10 years, and it's the band's been together longer than those guys have been out. So,
wow.
The band itself has far surpassed any of the members. Me and Adam being the only 2 that have stayed from the beginning up until now. But things happen, and you kind of lose touch with each other. You weave in and out of friendships. Things happen, and it happens. It's instead of being married to one person, you're married to 4 or 5, and things can happen like that. So I hope those guys are doing good, and whatever they're out there doing. We don't keep in touch or anything like that, but the older you get, the more you realize that you don't wish any ill will towards anybody, and hope that they're happy doing whatever they're doing.
Right, and that's the best way to look at it, because life is short.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially with the way the world's changed just over the past 6 months and stuff. You just, it kind of makes you not sweat the little things as much. And
right.
when you get older, different health things happen. You lose friends, people die. It's just part of age. You're not those invincible kids you once were. So, it takes away a lot of the petty things.
Right. So I remember when you guys put out your first music video, and it was Halo. And there was something I always wanted to ask you, because there was this scene in the video where you walk the wall. And I was watching this, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, how in the world is he doing that? Did they, turn the camera sideways? Is there cables holding him up? And I'm looking for cables, and I can't see them, so I'm, completely stumped. And you're literally walking and headbanging while walking on the wall. You got to tell me, man, was that, one of the coolest things ever, or was it, really challenging?
It was both, actually, because it wasn't a camera angle. That I was actually physically walking on a wall. And when we did that video, Clive Davis, who signed us, it was his first rock signing in 15 years. And he wanted to get back into the rock scene and assemble an entire team of, hand-picked, people from radio to A&R to, marketing and everything to head up his rock department at J Records through BMG. And he sat us down and he said, if I'm going to MTV and VH1 and Much Music with a rock video, it better be the best damn rock video you've ever seen. And they rented out an airplane hangar and built a house inside of the airplane hangar.
Wow.
And all the dirt and all that stuff you see, that was actually surgical dirt that was brought in. And I mean, they spared no expense. It was basically a movie, like an independent film movie budget to do that video. So, I mean, the sky was the limit on that. They actually hired 2 professional rock climbers to do those stunts of the walking on the wall. And, you know, I was put in a harness, so was Ryan, and we were lifted up by a forklift from the ceiling and physically walked down the wall as the forklift went up and pulled us up. But the thing was, is they couldn't see us behind the wall, so they'd yell action. And for the first few times, they were shooting us into the wall. So I was smacking face first into the actual wall, which was not too much fun. And finally, they got it to where, you know, they slowed it down a little bit and they cut a hole in the wall so that they could see what we were doing. But we were actually on tour with Ozzy Osbourne and Rob Zombie at the time when that was when they were filming the video. We filmed it in between dates on that tour, and I could barely get out of my bunk and had to literally put masking tape around my ribs because they were so bruised up from doing those stunts. But it was so cool. I mean, you watch it back and you're just like, you know, wow, I was actually in a harness on a forklift getting shot across the room to go do that. And it was super cool. Something I'll never forget. It was my first and last stuntman work that I've ever been a part of.
Thank God for long hair.
No hazard pay.
Thank God for that long hair. You can't see the bruising or the blood.
Yeah, and I got no hazard pay for that one either. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for a lot of our fans out here, I know before Soil was established, there's actually a much earlier history you guys go back with, and I think it was the Throttle Junkies, wasn't it?
Yeah, Soil we had 2 EPs and the album Throttle Junkies out before Scars. I mean, a lot of people, you know, deem Scars as our debut record. And, you know, we somewhat do that too because we kind of reinvented the band between Throttle Junkies and Scars and changed our look and our sound and stuff like that. But the actual real first version of Soil and first debut album was Throttle Junkies, which it was cool. We were, you know, we had all come from death metal bands, Chicagoland death metal bands, Broken Hope and Oppressor. And we wanted to get back to our rock roots. And, you know, Soil was supposed to be just a side project, just to have some fun. And we were really into COC, Wise Blood, that album. And we were really into, like, Lights of Agony and, you know, Down and stuff like that. And we just wanted to form a band like that and jam together as buddies. And, you know, I discovered Ryan through some tape trading, and I was like, this is the perfect guy for our band to sing, and assemble it through that. And it wasn't supposed to be anything as big as it was. It was just supposed to be a fun side project that we'd have a little bit of, you know, laughs and play some different type of music without grind blasts the whole time and growling vocals. And I was actually the singer and bass player of Oppressor, and it gave me a chance just to focus in on bass and leave the singing to, you know, a rock singer for the rock band. And we just kept building up such a momentum on the scene, and next thing you know, we're selling out the Metro, which is, I don't know, 1,200 people or something on our own. And
you sold that place out.
Yeah, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and we were just kind of like, well, should we just roll with this, or what should we do? So we just kind of put our other bands kind of on the back burner and rolled with it, and so it just kept on going and going and going. It's kind of very cool to see because it was so organic. It wasn't forced. We didn't set out to be rock stars. We didn't set out to even, you know, be a full-time band. It just kind of happened. I think that's what's really important about the Soil history is it was just, you know, 5 guys playing some music that they enjoyed just being themselves. There was nothing contrived or any motivation whatsoever behind it other than just wanting to have a good time with your friends.
Right. Yeah, and it's amazing too because, you know, and for listeners and for a lot of the new fans who don't know the history, there's actually, when you guys had your record release, you guys kind of got hit with a massive blow because your record release for the first album was September 11th, 2001. And that's
brutal.
It's in the trade. And ironically, the album was called Scars. So for a lot of these listeners, I mean, yeah, you guys actually, when you had your record release party, it seemed like you guys had to wait it out a little bit before you could actually do it.
Well, it was actually a two-part thing, and there's a little bit more backstory to it, a little bit more of a scarier backstory. Is we had Halo had blown up on the radio in Orlando on the station called WJRR, and that's how we got the bidding war going as far as record labels. You know, we had a bidding war between, it was Warner Brothers, J Records, RCA, Atlantic, and Elektra, and they were all like going, you know, hammering down to get us, and we ultimately signed with J Records and Clive Davis, and you know, so what happened is that this thing called Demo Diaries. If you really want to go back and research some history, this guy Gary, Demo Diaries, put our EP up there, and this guy Steve-O, he eventually signed Shinedown. He was at Atlantic, and he's like, you know, can I get this on the station down here in Florida where I'm from, just to see if the listeners get into it and see kind of what the reaction is. And we're like, yeah, sure. And it just blew up down there, like gigantic blew up. And we flew out September 10th to Orlando to do a record release show there at the House of Blues, sold out show at the House of Blues. Record went on sale at midnight, and we sold like 2,000 copies at the House of Blues alone.
Wow.
That night, there was a record store that came out to do it. And the next morning we got on a flight because we had a sold out show at the Metro for our Chicago record release show. And we were in the air when all the attacks happened.
Whoa.
So they had thought that our plane was one of the ones, because a plane from Florida was diverted, and I think that's the one that it didn't hit the towers, it hit Capitol building. And we were in the air, and people thought it was our flight. And we landed, and all the cell phone towers were being jammed. National Guard was lined up. The SWAT team was down there because they didn't know if there were hijackers or anything on our plane either.
Wow.
So they had to go in with the bomb squad, check for things. We got escorted off by the National Guard. The SWAT team was there, and you know, our families, before they could get in touch with us, thought that we might have been one of the ones that hit. Thank God we weren't. But
right.
And that, you know, kind of derailed a lot of stuff. So I mean, you know, somewhat in regards to that, it's like, would we have been a bigger band if that never happened? Or would we have been a smaller band? Or would we have done what we did? I mean, a lot of people embraced our band because a lot of people were angry about September 11th, so a lot of people went for a lot more of the heavier music. Plus we had some, you know, some uplifting stuff in there as well. So, you know, I don't know whether September 11th had a negative impact on the record. Would we have sold 5 million copies of Scars instead of 500,000? You know, who knows? I mean, who really knows what the inevitable will happen? But you know, can't go back in time, at least not yet. But that's the story. It's really scary. It was quite a page turner in the old history books there.
Oh, believe me, I remember vividly. I remember I was working at Music Recyclery, if you remember this store in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I requested off that day because of the show, because of coming to see you guys. And I had access to backstage to hang out with you, and I'm thinking I'm going to have the time of my life. I requested off work. I went to the barber shop, got cut up, and walking to the barber shop, I'm kind of like noticing there's like a really weird feeling in the air, and I'm like, what in the hell's going on? And when I get in there, they have the news on, and they're showing one of the trade towers, and I'm like, are they filming a movie? They're like,
yeah.
no, a plane has hit the building. And I'm like, no. I sit down, then I saw the second one hit. I'm like, oh, what the hell? And then come to find out what was going on, like, oh, no. And then everything got canceled, everything got closed down. And I was like, my heart was going out to all those people there. You know, I wasn't going to be like that greedy person, like, oh, you sons of bitches, you just cost me a concert. I could have been backstage. You know, I was just more heartfelt for everybody else that was involved or who was affected. But, you know,
yeah, it was a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. But then you guys finally did have your record release party.
Yeah, what we did is if memory serves correctly, is we were scheduled to go out, to continue out on tour, and we did that. We went back out on tour and just kind of braved through it the best we could. And, shows started to pick up after a couple of weeks and stuff like that, and people started coming out again.
Yeah.
But yeah, we redid the record release show and stuff like that. It's just, I still have the backstage laminates for that show, and it said, special, all access Chicago Metro Soil record release show, September 11th, 2001. So I still have those laminates. I kind of look back at them and get a little chill up my spine, because it's like, the happiest time of our lives turned into be, a complete tragedy for the whole country, whole world, in fact. But,
yeah.
We're almost, we're pretty much experiencing that now, but instead of a tragedy happening, that you can heal over and get together with people and at least have human companionship. But it's the exact opposite. You can't get near anybody, and
right.
Everything's still locked down, and you can't even go in a public place to watch a movie or listen to some music to kind of take your mind off of it. You're trapped. So
yeah,
it's I would have never thought that I would have saw something like September 11th in my lifetime, yet alone experience another thing like this whole COVID thing we have going on.
Yeah,
as well. It's just crazy times.
Yeah, but if there's one thing, I want to quote one of your songs from the first album, My Own. I am my own. I am too strong to be under your feet. And I think that's very profound, because a lot of people know how to overcome and rise.
Yeah.
And in the rock business, you hear a lot of messages like that. And for you guys to make a song like that, I remember Ryan quoting that song to me when I was having a rough time one night with the loss of our father and the way we lost him. And this is during the good old America Online days, if you remember that annoying stuff.
Yeah, I remember having many conversations with you on Instant Messenger. In fact, to be honest with you, I still use AOL.
Wow. You're probably one of few.
that shows you what an old timer I am. But hey, you know what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. And it's like,
that's right.
I think AOL contacted me and said, "Can you go through and delete some of your things, because you have I had like over 85,000 messages that were sitting in my boxes." So I was sucking up all their server space.
Yeah, you're popular, bro. You got to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, man, so what could we expect out of you guys for the near future?
I mean, right now everything's completely put on hold, and we've been talking to each other, via, what we're doing now, Facebook Messenger and by phone and stuff. It's a little bit different than the old days, because me and Adam are the only ones that live here in Chicago still, and Ryan's living in the UK, and our drummer TJ lives in Kentucky. So, with all these restrictions and stuff going on, for Ryan to come back in the country, he'd have to undergo a 2-week quarantine at this point.
Oh.
So even when live shows are able to come back around, we definitely have to make sure that we've got the proper paperwork, or there's things in line to where we can get Ryan back here,
right?
Stuff like that. But Soil's always been one of those bands that it's like a Timex watch. It keeps taking a licking and keeps on ticking. So
damn right.
We've always got something going on, and now that we've got, we're back on a really good high note, and we've been for a long time. I mean, Ryan came back in 2011, so this September it'll be 9 years that he's been back. He'll have been back in the band longer than he was in the band in the first place. So if that's a testament to how well we're getting along now and how good Soil's doing, we've outlasted even the glory days, I guess you could say. I mean, but I seem to think that we're in the glory days, because we have fun playing on stage. We still get to do tons of festivals. We still get to go to Europe and Australia and all throughout the U.S. and Canada, and we just have a lot more fun with it. The pressure to constantly make records and constantly tour and constantly do this, constantly do that, are no longer there. Now we do it on our own terms and when we want to do it, and we enjoy it a lot more. And I think the fans see that too, and it's a way for everybody to get out and have a Friday night or a Saturday night, no matter what it is. If you're going to go to a Soil concert, you're going to have a good time, and it's check the drama and any anxieties at the door, and you come in and just have a good time rocking
Oh
out to
yeah.
some songs that you know, and enjoy yourself. That's what we started the band on in the first place, is a side project to where we could have a few beers with our friends and enjoy ourselves and play some heavy rock music, and we're still doing that to this day. It's pretty cool, you know.
And I'm glad to hear that, man. And fans, for those who don't know what it's like to experience a Soil concert, I can tell you from firsthand experience, I've never been so happy to lose my hearing in my life. I always had that one spot at the Metro, front right stage, right by the guardrail. And it was one of the few times me and my brother actually had fun together because we were both just like suffering and going through so much. But that was like one of the few times though it's like we really enjoyed the hell out of ourselves. I mean, a good rock concert is when you can't hear nothing the next day, your body is sore, and your neck is killing you from headbanging all night long.
Yep, had quite a few of those over the years.
I wouldn't expect any less. You know, one thing I did want to ask you though, because we're in such a different age now and a different time, and now that social media and YouTube and all these things have just like pretty much run rampant and taken over everything, being a musician, do you find it more awesome and more moving to see all these younger generations and all these little kids picking up an instrument and just shredding and just nailing stuff like crazy compared to like if it was back in, let's say, 2000, 2001, when we didn't have all that? Do you think it still would have been just as cool or more popular, or do you think the media and YouTube and all that had a big factor in that?
You know, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's always great when people pick up instruments, and because an instrument's just an extension and of your personality, and it's, you know, it's a stress reliever too. It's a great thing to pick up, and you know, I'd rather see somebody picking up a guitar or a bass or get behind a drum kit than picking up a knife or a gun and going out and causing trouble, you know.
Right.
So I mean, that way it's fantastic, you know, and it, you know, with the internet and stuff, I think it's fantastic that you can discover so much new music and have everything at your fingertips. And, you know, just by being, you know, somebody who's very environmentally conscious, I think that it's amazing that you can have it all digital instead of having to, you know, pollute the environment with plastics and making that, or cutting down trees to make booklets for CDs and
Right.
and things. And you know, although that stuff is still, there are still like vinyl and CD booklets and stuff. It's more of a collector's item than it is, you know, something the primary way that you listen to music. So in those respects, I think it's great for the environment. It's great for people to embrace music a lot easier. On the flip side, you know, it definitely lends to the negative side of there's so many bands out there and so much crap and people that can't play and people that get attention that don't deserve it, and they use it in negative ways. You know, it's a lot easier for kids and people to get bullied. You know, if they write a song that means a lot to them and they put it out for somebody to see, it's real easy to give negative comments to that, and that really affects people a lot. I think kids today have a lot more to deal with than we ever did growing up, because, you know, there's always been bullies and stuff, but now instead of like a couple people bullying you and you can outgrow it, or, you know, maybe it fly under the radar, you can get over it and sort it out, they're spreading it over the internet for tons of people to see, and it's devastating. I mean, you look back on it when you're older and it really doesn't make that big of a deal, but when you're in that and you're in the heat of that moment and you're a kid and you're just trying to fit in and be accepted, it's devastating. That's why you see a lot of suicide rates and kids shooting up schools and violence and things like that. And, you know, I think it's great that there is, you know, outlets, you know, like Guitar Tab online and easier ways to learn instruments to where kids can have that outlet to get away from the negative aspects of the cyber world and maybe gain a little bit of a benefit from it.
Yeah. I've always tried to encourage people to try and like get out of the house and go out and do stuff. Read a book, go to the comic book store, go see a movie, go to a concert, you know, go do something that requires you to physically go and do, not something that keeps you stuck down to the couch and everything's just right there in the palm of your hands. Cuz it defeats the experience.
Well, I mean, kids today, I mean, I have a 4-year-old niece, and she's like a whiz on the iPad and grabbing the TV remote control and saying, hey Alexa, find me, free kids movies. And I mean, it's just insane. Growing up, we had like 5 channels in our house.
And you were the remote.
I spend more time looking for something to watch than I actually do watching it. I mean, we have at the house here, we've got YouTube Premium, we've got Xfinity, we've got Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, then all the other free streaming services that come. I mean, you spend more time looking for something to watch than you actually do watching it. And,
right.
It's terrible on the eyes, and I'm as big of a guilty person as anything. It's like my iPhone might as well be embedded into my hand, like Terminator 2 absorbed into it. But I've been trying to force myself to cut it off after a certain point at night and do something constructive, whether it's go outside or even just stare at the wall or something. It's just better than staring at a screen and answering 10,000 emails a day.
Yeah. I mean, before I got in touch with you and I was able to get the honor of having you on the show, I can recall, because I have Spotify, and I'm always looking for a new playlist of like rock music and metal and things like that. And it was so cool to see, because like I came across so many different playlists that people have created. I came across Halo in 3 out of 5 playlists. I'm like, man, these guys have really done a good job. They have really gotten out there.
Yeah, that song. I mean, I think if you look at everything that we've ever done, I think that song's still the biggest and the defining song for Soil. And it's incredible to see, what is it now, 2020, 19 years later almost, that people are still discovering that song for the first time, or still listening to it. To hear people say that song's like a classic song to them, like you'd listen to like a Dream On or Walk This Way by Aerosmith.
Yeah.
I dare I even put ourselves in that league. I mean, that sounds a little arrogant.
It's the principle.
Just for comparison's sake, I mean, to have people tell me that, a song, like a Motley Crue song or an Aerosmith song or whatever, that meant that much to me and I deem as like a classic, that people think of Halo as something like that, it's still unbelievable to me to this day, because I still remember when we wrote that song, it was a combination of 2 other songs. In fact, that song came together as I had come to practice with what everybody later deemed a surf riff. It had this real notey, staccato-y riff to it, and Ryan hit the chorus for Halo was that riff, and it was like, I will stone you, wrap my arms around you, I will stone you. That was like kind of how it went. And I think it was maybe it was Adam's idea or whatever. He's like, listen, it's a cool riff, but why don't, instead of playing all the notes, we just let the notes ring out and let the lyrics breathe? And we did that, and then the chorus was born for Halo, instead of doing it so fast and staccato. And then we took the verse riff from some other song. I think it was called, actually, boy, I'm surprised I still have the memory for this. It was a song we had called God of the Day, and that was the verse of Halo. And again, somebody spouting off, one of us spouting off, going, why don't we take the verse from that God of the Day song and put it with this Halo song that we've slowed down? Okay. And that's how Halo was born. And, I think Sean and Adam stayed behind it after practice or whatever, and wrote a bridge to it or something like that, and that was it. That song was like a Frankenstein song, and it turned out to be one of our biggest songs ever.
Now, if memory serves me right, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought another one of the tracks from your first album made it onto a John Madden game.
It was from the second record. It was a song called Pride. It made it onto Madden 2004.
Okay.
And it's funny because people who aren't into rock, or people who aren't into or don't know more of don't know rock besides like the big bands, they know it from they know Soil from the Madden 2004. I was switching a bank account, and the bank. And this is years and years ago, and the banker was like, "Yeah, what do you do for a living?" I told him, and this and that. He's like, "Are you guys? You guys are on this Madden 2004 came out? Yeah, that's us." He's like, "Oh my God, I've listened to that song a million times. I would have never, never even discovered your band besides that." It's like that video game did a lot for us. When we were on an episode of CSI with the song Unreal, we were on this episode of CSI called Body Farm, and it was one of the most syndicated episodes of CSI ever, one of the most popular episodes. And I looked at residual checks, and there's stuff coming from like Singapore and Indonesia and all this for that episode of CSI, because it was such a popular episode. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, the Triple X soundtrack with Vin Diesel was another big one. We had a song on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre soundtrack, and the Headbangers Ball 2 compilation. In fact, I have a gold record for that sitting on my wall for that Roadrunner compilation and stuff. And it's just like, all those soundtracks and compilations and TV shows and movies, they just, perpetuated the popularity in ways that we wouldn't have been able to achieve by like touring or just staying in our own realm. It was like, people that don't even like that sort of music know who Soil is because of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's great because people have much more of an open mind now to giving different genres of music a chance. And people are a lot more acceptable to those things these days. And I'm so happy to see that because, you got a lot of rap and hip-hop artists getting into metal and things like that. Then you got a lot of metal guys getting into rap and hip-hop. And there's so many bridges, there's so many cool things happening because of music. And it all starts with just like the littlest moment. And I'm so very, very happy for you guys to see where you have gotten and all the success and the momentum and where you've been, man. I'm truly, truly proud and very, very happy for all of you guys.
I really appreciate that, and it was a lot of fun reconnecting with you on social media, and really had a good time today. Just taking a trip down memory lane. We don't get to do that often, and kind of puts into perspective just how lucky we've been to have a 23-year-long career, in doing this.
Yeah. I spent probably the last 5-6 years trying to find a way to connect with you guys on social media, and I'm on Soil pages, like putting out how cool these guys are. This is what they did for me and my brother, so-and-so, and these guys are awesome, and hoping that maybe one day one of you guys would have came across that, never did. And then here I am, like 5-6 years later, I find you, in a matter of days or two, I hear from you. I'm like, cool. Only 19 years.
It's not like we ever tried to be elusive, but it's so overwhelming, all that social media
I believe
stuff.
it.
But when you do find us and reach out, we always answer.
Yeah. Well, I know we're getting close to our mark, but one thing I think you could take a lot of pride in, and you could share this with Adam and Ryan next time you can, but the night you guys got your record deal, my brother was about 17 at the time. He painted his guitar case with the Soil emblem on there. And I bought that to fuel the night you guys signed with Clive Davis, and you guys signed that guitar, and he still has that clean as a whistle. The autographs are still fresh as can be, hanging on his wall in his apartment to this very day.
That's amazing. I remember signing that because we were like, we were celebrating, and we're like, is this some sort of a sign? He was a kid at the time. This kid comes with this, with this thing fully laid out and decked out for us. It was crazy. I thought somebody staged that or something.
That was us.
The timing was so perfect. But please tell your brother, I said hi, and I hope he's doing really well.
Yeah, I'd definitely get a word to him, but we're getting close to our mark, and normally this is where I give the opportunity for you to tell the fans where to find you, but, all you gotta do is just go on Google and type in Soil, or YouTube, or social media, just type in Soil. These guys are not hard to find.
Yeah, definitely if you do a search engine, type in Soil the band. Otherwise, you're gonna see a lot of agricultural stuff popping up.
Right.
But if you type in Soil the band, it usually leads you right to all of our stuff. Super easy to find. We're on every platform you can imagine. There's really no secret way to find us.
Right? It'd be mighty confusing to see some 80-year-old guy, looking like the farmer in the Dell, and some rocker kid said, like, these guys wrote Halo?
That's great.
Oh man, well, fans, I gotta thank you guys so much for today, and Tim, really, thank you for spending the time to go down memory lane with us and being able to reconnect. Is there anything you want to say to your fans or anybody else before we go?
Yeah, I mean, thank you first of all for putting this together, and it's always amazing to see that there's people that still support you after all these years, and cheers to all of our old fans, cheers to all our new fans, anybody that gives us the time of day or checks out the band, we're still very appreciative of it. We're still very lucky to still be able to do this and to still live our dreams. And to anybody out there that has something that they want to do or try to do, you don't always succeed every time, but you'll never know unless you try. So always definitely try. And if there's something that's ever in your heart that you feel like you never got a chance to do and you just want to do it at least once, at least try it, because when you're gone, you're gone. So don't have any regrets. I definitely don't. I've done everything I've ever wanted to do and then some. So I feel very fortunate. So that's the gospel of TK that I'm spreading for you. If you have anything that you haven't done yet, at least try once. And if you don't succeed at it, well, then it wasn't meant to be. But at least you tried. That's all you can do.
Very, very sound words, man. Well, fans, I hope you enjoyed our time with Tim today. Lord knows I have. I feel like I'm 21 all over again.
I wish I was.
This is the moment where he says, yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. Keep making me feel older.
I'm a lot older than you, so enjoy it.
I just turned 40, so I'm not that far.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for the interview, and thank you, everybody who's listening. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, same here, man. Until then, fans, you guys stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Until then, I'm Mike Stover. This is Tim King. We're out.
Breaking up the signal and cracking up the noise. We'll all be forgotten if we don't lose our voice. Need a new distraction.